Welcome back to the CryptoLabs YouTube channel. I'm going to make this video really quick. I promise you, if one thing lands, if this gives you insight into something that you haven't thought about before, this video can be worth a lot of money to you. Now, most of the videos that do really well on YouTube are the videos that are like, here's the opportunity, or here's a position, or here's a crypto, or here's something. I have seen people make so much money in crypto and DeFi and be no more financially free. They're either lost it all, they got mixed up in the tax burden of it all, they blew it all, or they just increased their lifestyle and started spending more money and were no more financially free than when they made their millions. I've seen that happen so many times. It happened to me 4 years ago. I started making a lot of money, and guess what? My lifestyle increased. I wasn't thinking about taxes. I didn't really have financial literacy, although I thought I did, and I ended up no better off than where I was before I started, except with a bunch of new skills and more knowledge on how to not do it. Financial literacy is so important. A financial education and always learning financial principles is so important, because I will tell you this: the way a poor and middle class thinks and the way a rich person thinks are completely opposite. And I see a lot of people still operating this crypto DeFi passive income. They're making $100 or $300. I've seen this. I've worked with clients who are making over $1,000 a day in DeFi income, and they're no better off at the end of that. Why? More money doesn't equal more financial freedom if we are still operating on middle class principles. I hate to say it, but it's true. I know it's easy to just sell the idea, hey, make more money. But that's literally step one of like the whole financial freedom journey. Earn more. Okay, that's what everyone's focused on. But what about number two? What about like actually setting goals and having a financial plan? Why do you want to earn more? What is that going to do for your lifestyle? How are you planning that? What is your number? Is it post-tax or pre-tax? Is more just for more's sake is usually leads to less. I know that's such a paradox. So I just want to make a ton of money. Okay, how much? Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's like they never put thought into it. And so now people are making more. And let's say you've accomplished step number two, which you actually have a plan and you understand your number and your financial freedom number. There's actually 3 numbers that we look at. It's like, what covers your basic expenses, what covers you and more, and then what gives you like that luxurious lifestyle where you have plenty and you can give the plenty away because you know what you need. We live in a culture of like just hoarding and more. And I'm like, at what end? When does that game end? And what's the motivation behind that game? That's important. And then we move into like, oh, okay, now we're actually like saving. And now we're starting to move into actually investing. So maybe your DeFi business, which to me is a business, starts printing you excess capital. Well, what do you do with that? Are you just going to reinvest it back into DeFi? Are you going to invest with it? Is it going to be in crypto? Is it going to be something that's non-correlated to crypto? What are we doing with that? And then there's a layer on top of that. And I remember experiencing this and it was like, oh my God, but it's like asset protection. How are you starting to protect the wealth and the momentum in the businesses you're building? Then it's like tax planning and how can you minimize taxation legally, of course. Like we can keep going. And I think, and from a lot of the conversations I've had, people are afraid of expanding financially because it means more money, more problems. And that's going to have to be a choice you make. Like, is that game worth playing? And then there's financial principles. How a poor person, middle class person thinks, how a rich person thinks. Like poor people and middle class people are using debt, bad debt. They're accumulating bad debt. Rich people, good debt. Debt that actually makes them money. And then it's like, okay, well, how far can we take that? Because you can start getting over leveraged and that good debt can become bad debt very quickly. What is an asset? What is a liability? The poor and middle class will think their house is an asset. It's actually a liability. People start arguing and they actually get mad when they hear that because their entire paradigm and everything they've been taught is starting to crumble, or they're not willing to face that because that means letting go of something they believed their whole life. But my house is an asset. It's not. It's a liability. There's some fine print around that. If you own a place and it makes you a positive cash flow, simply put, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So no, I am sorry, your car is not an asset. Even if it's paid for, it's still a liability, unless you're renting it and making money on it. And what I have found is when I just adopted some really basic principles, okay, my lifestyle, any stupid consumer items, this watch or whatever, is going to be paid by from passive or leveraged income. And any worked for income is just going to go into investments that pay me cash. And eventually, to me, the name of the game was, how do I build investments in passive income vehicles or leveraged income vehicles that can print me enough cash so I can spend on my lifestyle and book the flights and travel to the places and book nicer hotels and buy a car, buy a supercar, whatever. But it's not money that I'm trading time for money. I'm not trading an hour for $50 or an hour for $100 or even an hour for $500, because that's a losing game. So I think if we don't work through, which is why we have such a huge section of the UIG, this whole financial freedom formula, it's something we need to dive into, because if we don't take that seriously, or if we don't actually put time and attention into studying what I'm talking about here, you're going to make more money, but that's level 1 of 8 different levels. That's the easiest level of all. Make more money. That's the game everyone is playing. And I think it's fair to say that most people, if you look around, most people they're not financially free, but they're still playing the make more money game. So maybe that's not the game. Maybe that's just one part of the game. I really hope this makes sense. If this just helps one person, like, shake them and be like, oh, you know what? I'm falling into that trap. More money, more money, more money, but I'm ignoring all the rest. Make more money is like 5% of the financial freedom education or equation. And so the education to me is really important. Luckily, we have the internet, so there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of people talking about it. We just need to take the time to study it. Someone DM'd me today and is like, I just want to make money. I don't care about learning all this BS. And I was like, okay, obviously we're not for you, just so you know, because we are an educational company. I'm big on the education because the education brings awareness. That knowledge brings awareness so we can actually do things a little bit differently. Cheering for you. Wanted to pop in here and just share that really, really quickly, really briefly. With that said, what I'll do is after you like and subscribe to this channel, yay, I'm going to leave some 4 videos on the 4 corners of the screen. Please, please check them out. Spend an hour or 2 studying this YouTube channel. It's about a lot more than just crypto and DeFi. There's always fundamental principles that can apply into any investment strategy or any financial plan that you've created for yourself, assuming you've created one. If not, let's go create one. With that said, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you. Peace.